In our journey through life, our thoughts and experiences shape our understanding of the world, love, and our purpose. However, the thoughts that lead us into problems are rarely the same thoughts that will guide us out of them. This is especially true when it comes to issues of sin and spiritual bondage. The mind, once conditioned by repeated sinful behaviors or misguided beliefs, becomes a powerful tool for reinforcing those very patterns, trapping us in cycles of destruction. To break free from these cycles, a radical transformation in our way of thinking is necessary, one that aligns with divine truth rather than fleshly desires.
Consider the example of a person addicted to pornography. Over time, their mind has been conditioned to associate love with lust, to see intimacy as a mere physical act rather than a deep, selfless connection.
This distorted view of love is miles away from the biblical definition. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7. True love, as God defines it, transcends physical desire and focuses on the well-being and spiritual growth of the other person. It is patient, kind, and self-sacrificing.
Contrast this with someone who has never engaged in such behavior, who has cherished a pure love for another person since their youth, waiting until marriage to express any form of physical affection. To this person, love is not something to be consumed for personal gratification, but a sacred bond that honors both God and the other person. Their understanding of love aligns with God's design, which is far removed from the selfish, fleeting pleasure promoted by worldly desires.
Demons, understanding the power of thoughts and emotions, exploit our vulnerabilities by using our life experiences to reinforce negative emotions. They seek to enslave us to sin by convincing us that the pleasures of the flesh are what truly satisfy, when in reality these are the very things that keep us bound and far from God.
Now the works of the flesh are evident, which are adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contentions, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, dissensions, heresies, envy, murders, drunkenness, revelries, and the like. Galatians 5:19-21. These sins are not merely acts. They are manifestations of a deeper spiritual bondage, one that demons feed upon, keeping us trapped in a cycle of guilt, shame, and further sin. Key life events, such as the loss of a loved one, a job, or even the onset of puberty, are ripe opportunities for demonic influence. These are times when our emotions are volatile, when we are most likely to question our purpose, our worth, and our relationship with God. Demons use these moments to plant seeds of doubt, anger, and despair, drawing us away from the truth of God's love and into a deeper reliance on worldly solutions that offer no real peace or freedom. This is why friendship with the world is so dangerous. It fosters enmity against God. The world promotes values that are in direct opposition to the teachings of Christ, values that prioritize personal pleasure, power, and pride over humility, selflessness, and obedience to God. Do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with God? Whoever therefore wants to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. James 4:4. When we align ourselves with the world's values, we place ourselves in direct opposition to God's will, and we open the door for further spiritual deception. The battle against these influences begins in the mind. We must recognize that the thinking that led us into bondage will not lead us out. A new way of thinking is required, one that is grounded in the truth of God's word. Do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world is passing away, and the lust of it. but he who does the will of God abides forever. 1 John 2:15 through 17.
To break free, we must humble ourselves before God, resist the devil and draw near to God. Only then will the enemy flee, and only then will we find the strength to cleanse our hands and purify our hearts. James 4:7 through 8. By submitting to God and embracing his definition of love, we can overcome the wicked one, reject the lies of the enemy, and walk in the light of God's truth.
This is the path to true freedom, a freedom that the world can never offer and that only God can provide.